Our next on the list is a cartoon character that is quite unusual compared to many cartoon characters in his heyday. A character created out of necessity and by a man who had previously reinvented the very first cartoon star into what it's known as today. Our number 91 pick is none other than Casper the Friendly Ghost, a character that has somehow managed to blur the line between obscurity and relevancy ever so gracefully. Casper is more unusual than you could ever imagine because, unlike many of his cartoon peers before him, he didn't initially get his start as a cartoon character. His beginnings started out as an unpublished story, supposedly. More on that shortly. Anyway, The Friendly Ghost was the creation of a studio that most might be familiar with if you are a cartoon lover, historian, or a frequent watcher of the channel. A studio that housed one of the most iconic characters of all time. That being none other than Popeye. And the studio is Famous Studios, which is more commonly known as Paramount Cartoon Studios today. Making his first appearance with 1945's The Friendly Ghost as a part of the studio's Noveltoon series, Casper made his mark with the character's modus operandi in full display. He was a ghost who didn't want to scare others but instead make friends among the living. Casper the Friendly Ghost was the creation of Seymour Wright and Joe Oriolo. Yes, the very same man instrumental for reinventing our 100th pick, Felix the Cat. There's always been a point of contention on who initially created Casper, with Seymour and Joe both claiming sole ownership of the character's creation. Despite the discrepancy, Casper went on to succeed after his first 3 shorts under the Noveltoon series. So much that he got his own theatrical shorts, starting with 1950's Casper's Spree Under the Sea. This was the beginning of his success as a cartoon star. He went on to star in 51 shorts in total when it was all said and done. But being a theatrical cartoon star, he was bound to make his transition to a place where he would gain the most viewership, the small screen. He would make his way to television as a part of Maddie's Fun Day Funnies in 1959, which his cartoons were now labeled Harvey Toons alongside his other counterparts under the Famous Studios umbrella. Speaking of Harvey Toons, Casper had also become something that his peers weren't, and that was a comic book character. Starting in 1949, when St. John Publishing acquired the rights to the character from Famous Studios to create comics adorning him. But it would be in 1952 when Harvey Comics took over the license and he truly became a comic book star. In turn, he would have a run that lasted past his tenure as a cartoon character in the 50s. But this wouldn't keep Casper away from the cartoon limelight. Usually, many of the characters during his era either faded into obscurity or stayed as packaged reruns. But this wouldn't be enough for Casper because not only did his comic book flourish past the 1950s and his theatrical run, he also made another attempt at cartoon stardom. For the very first time as a creation made solely for television in 1963 with the new Casper cartoon show, an animated series that brought him and his Harvey Comics counterparts back into the fold. The new in the title wasn't for show. These were brand new cartoons created by Paramount Cartoon Studios and directed by Seymour Nettle, who had previously directed the Casper shorts for the studio. Despite the series lasting only 26 episodes, the series would endure on ABC's Saturday morning lineup for the remainder of the 1960s, packaged with the previous shorts. But Casper couldn't stay down for long, as he made another comeback in the 1970s, this time with Casper and the Angels. This series was the studio's take on the character that spoofed Charlie's Angels. It had Casper exploring the comedic route, just as all of Hanna-Barbera's output in the 70s had done. Casper even got 2 holiday specials in 1979 as well. But his biggest role in the world of animation would be his live-action feature film debut in 1995 that reignited interest for the character, so much that it earned $290 million worldwide. There hadn't been any other cartoon character of his era that did such a feat at the time. The worldwide success of the film gave Casper a new lease on life. No pun intended. He would make his way back to the small screen to another Saturday morning lineup. This time on Fox Kids with 1996's The Spooktacular New Adventures of Casper. The series was billed as a sequel to the film itself. The series was a successful outing for Casper as it reached 52 episodes in total. It seemed like this was it for the character, but 2012 had something to say about that. Casper's Scare School made its premiere on Cartoon Network that year. This was a sequel series to the direct-to-video animated feature of the same name. It would also last for 52 episodes on the network. He had endured once again, and that's the key word that sums up Casper's relevancy in animation history. Endured. Because despite Casper never being the most comedic character of his peers, such as the likes of Bugs, Daffy, and Woody Woodpecker, nor being the most exciting cartoon character like the other characters that inhabited the cartoon landscape during his later tenure, he had something his peers seldomly possessed: charm. Casper is a character that represented the good nature of cartoons, that warm feeling we got when we watched them as children and still do to this day. A character that always made the best of his situation, considering that he was just a ghost for goodness sake. His friendliness wasn't just a character trait, it was also what many of his peers rarely exhibited. His exuberant nature is rarely seen in cartoon characters today. That warm-hearted nature of the character just reminds us of how animation used to be. A relic of the past that somehow kept rearing his head throughout the years, managing to stay relevant while his other counterparts faded into obscurity. All without changing who he was. No silly tricks or gimmicks. Just his good-hearted nature that carried him. He could have easily been a byproduct of the era, but his unwillingness to stop being relevant and subverting the expectation placed upon him, once again, he's a ghost for goodness sake, ironically has kept him alive in the eyes of the public. He has endured and conquered obscurity for decades and transcended past his era. Now, if the stories are true, Casper is expected to make another comeback to the world of animation again sometime this year or later in the future. Whether this is speculation at this point or not, one thing remains. Casper is alive. Well, not alive in a physical sense. Did I mention he was a ghost? But more in our consciousness. Besides, maybe we need Casper right now because these days we all need some kind of happiness and joy, and who's better to give us that other than Casper, the friendliest ghost that has ever existed. Thanks, Casper.